Judge Marsh ruled his courtroom like a king, untouchable, arrogant, and always ready with a snide remark. When he mocked the attorney in the MAGA hat, the room erupted in laughter, fueling his ego. But the moment that attorney dropped his mask of compliance, the judge's entire world began to crack. That was the day he learned some hats hide more than just hair. Judge Theodore Marsh, a man with an imposing stature and a reputation for his biting sarcasm, had been ruling his courtroom for over 2 decades. Known for his sharp wit and even sharper tongue, he relished any opportunity to assert dominance over those who dared to challenge his authority. Today was no exception. The courtroom buzzed with muted murmurs as the plaintiff's attorney, Nathan Grayson, stepped up to the podium. At 38, Nathan was a seasoned lawyer with an impeccable record. His suit was crisp, his briefcase polished, but it was his red MAGA hat perched confidently on his head that drew every pair of eyes in the room. Judge Marsh adjusted his glasses, a faint smirk forming as he caught sight of the bold accessory. "Well," the judge drawled, leaning back in his chair, "looks like someone's come prepared for a costume party instead of a legal proceeding." The remark sent a ripple of chuckles through the gallery. Nathan's jaw tightened, but he maintained his composure. "Your Honor," he began, his voice measured, "if we could proceed—" "Oh, we'll proceed all right," the judge interrupted, waving a hand dismissively. "Just as soon as you explain why you thought it was appropriate to turn my courtroom into a campaign rally." The tension in the room thickened. Nathan's expression didn't waver, but his knuckles whitened as he gripped the edges of the podium. He had anticipated resistance, but this blatant attack wasn't about the case. It was personal. Marsh wasn't done. "Perhaps you'd like to step outside, fix whatever distraction you've chosen to wear, and then we can get back to the matter at hand." Nathan glanced at the jury, then back at the judge. The humiliation was palpable, but he refused to give Marsh the satisfaction of seeing him flinch. Instead, he adjusted his hat deliberately, holding the judge's gaze. "Respectfully, Your Honor," Nathan said, his tone cool, "I'm here to argue a case, not to discuss fashion." Marsh's smirk disappeared. "Watch your tone, counselor. This is my courtroom, and I won't tolerate insolence." The gallery fell silent, the weight of the confrontation hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Nathan knew he was walking a tightrope, but he had no intention of backing down, not today, not ever. The hearing dragged on, the judge interjecting at every opportunity to belittle Nathan's arguments. It wasn't just the hat anymore. Marsh made it his mission to undermine Nathan's credibility at every turn. "Counselor Grayson," Marsh sneered, after cutting off yet another objection. "Did you graduate from an actual law school, or did you find your degree in a cereal box?" Laughter rippled through the gallery, but this time it sounded uneasy. Even the jurors exchanged uncomfortable glances. Nathan clenched his fists beneath the podium, forcing himself to remain calm. His client, seated behind him, gave a supportive nod, a small reassurance that reminded Nathan why he was here in the first place. Marsh leaned forward, his voice dripping with mockery. "Perhaps, if you spent less time choosing your accessories and more time studying the law, we wouldn't be wasting the court's time with this drivel." Nathan took a steadying breath. "With all due respect, Your Honor, I would appreciate it if we could focus on the evidence rather than personal attacks." Gasps echoed through the room. Marsh's eyes narrowed to slits. "Mr. Grayson," he said, his tone icy, "I suggest you tread carefully. You're not as untouchable as you seem to think." The courtroom buzzed with whispers. It was clear to everyone that this wasn't just a legal battle anymore. It was a clash of egos. But for Nathan, it was something far more personal. This wasn't just about winning the case. It was about standing his ground against a man who wielded power like a weapon. As the session concluded, Nathan gathered his papers, his jaw set with quiet determination. He could feel Marsh's eyes on him, the smug satisfaction radiating from the bench. But Nathan didn't look back. In the hallway, the whispers followed him. Reporters lingered, sensing a story brewing beneath the surface. Nathan ignored them all, his focus laser-sharp as he made his way toward the exit. He had no intention of letting Marsh's arrogance go unanswered. Meanwhile, in the judge's chambers, Marsh chuckled to himself, recounting the day's events to his clerk. "Did you see his face?" Marsh said, leaning back in his chair. "The audacity of that man, thinking he could strut into my courtroom with that ridiculous hat and expect to be taken seriously." The clerk offered a hesitant smile, clearly unsure whether to agree or stay silent. But the judge's laughter faded as his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his smirk faltering. The caller ID wasn't one he expected or welcomed. With a sigh, he answered, his voice suddenly much less confident. "Yes, this is Judge Marsh." The voice on the other end was calm but carried an unmistakable weight. Marsh's face turned pale as the conversation unfolded, his arrogance dissolving with every word. By the time the call ended, the judge sat frozen, the phone slipping from his grasp. Whatever confidence he'd wielded in the courtroom was gone, replaced by a dawning realization that the man he'd ridiculed wasn't just any lawyer, and this revelation was only the beginning.